Good morning, students. I welcome you on this online teaching platform of Divine Public School, Mohanapur, Gorakhpur. Hello, students. Once again, I am back to explain you one of the important chapter from your textbook Vistas, subject English core. The name of the chapter is On the Face of It. This chapter is written by Susan Hill. Dear student, this is the video number second. That means you can say part second, which is the continuation of the video 1 of board CBSE. About the author, dear students, in the very first video, that means the previous video, video number 1, I have already informed you about the life and work of Susan Hill. Once again, I am repeating this for you all. Susan Hill is an English author of fiction and non-fiction works. Her novels include The Woman in Black, The Mist in the Mirror, and I Am the King of the Castle, for which she received the Somerset Maugham Award in 1971. Now coming to the introduction of the lesson. This is one act play having 3 scenes, scene number 1, scene number 2 and scene number 3. It features only 2 characters, that means there are only 2 protagonists in this chapter. The first one is the old man and the second one is a 14-year-old boy. Both of them suffer from physical impairment. The old man has a till leg because he got his legs blown off in the war. The young boy, whose name is Derry, has one side of his face disfigured and burnt by acid. It is the boy Derry who comes to the old man's garden. By nature he is quiet and shy and bit defiant as well. It is the old man, Mr. Lamb, who strikes up a friendship with the boy and inspires him to make his life meaningful in spite of the handicap he suffers. The play also depicts the disappointment and loneliness of a physically impaired person. The sense of alienation is more inconvenient than the physical disability. Now moving towards the chapter, let's move forward. Now, as it is the continuation of the video 1, I am going to continue the chapter. First of all, I will read this paragraph for correct pronunciation and to infer the meaning of the text. Now, Derry repeats that he doesn't like being near people, especially when they stare at him and when he sees them being afraid of him. Mr. Lamb then tells him the story of a man who was afraid of everything in the world. So he locked himself in his room and stayed in his bed. A picture fell off the wall onto his head and killed him. Derry says that the old man said peculiar things. Then he asks what he does all day. Mr. Lamb replies that he sits in the sun, he reads books, his house is full of books, his house has no curtains as it does not like shutting things out. He likes the light and the darkness. He hears the wind from the open window. Derry too heard the sound of rain on the roof when it is raining. Now dear students, see the difficult words in this paragraph. As you can see, I have highlighted it in red color. The first difficult word is peculiar, which means strange. The second difficult word is curtains. It means a screen of heavy cloth. And the last one, that means the third difficult word here is shutting, which means close. So peculiar means strange, curtains means a screen of heavy cloth, and shutting means close. Now dear students, see the first line. I am going to explain this paragraph. Be attentive and listen the explanation very carefully. Now see the first line. Derry repeats that he doesn't like being near people, especially when they stare at him. Now Derry said that he did not like going near people as they got afraid of him and stared at him. People got afraid of him because of his burnt face. And people, when they see Derry, they stare at him. They give nasty comments after seeing his burnt face. At this point, Mr. Lamb suggested him that he could lock himself in a room forever. After a few minutes, Mr. Lamb narrated a story about the man who locked himself in his room as he was afraid of everything. The man thought that he would meet with an accident with a bus. He would catch infection from someone. A donkey would kick him to death. The lightning may hit him or he may die because the girl whom he loved may leave him, or he may even slip off a banana and people would laugh at him. As he was very much scared of his death, this man doesn't want to die. He wants to live forever. So this man, in order to safeguard himself from all such incidents, he locked himself in his room. After listening to this short story, Derry was surprised. He surprisingly asked Mr. Lamb if he locked himself forever. Mr. Lamb replied that no, he did so for a while. Do you know, student, why? Only for a short time he was able to lock himself in a room. Derry was also curious to know what happened next. Mr. Lamb replied that a picture fell on his head and he died. This made him laugh a lot. That means Derry started laughing. Dear student, by narrating this story, Mr. Lamb tries to remove the baseless fears of Derry. Now see the second paragraph. Derry says that the old man said peculiar things. Now, as I have told you the meaning of this difficult word peculiar, which means strange. Derry said that Mr. Lamb narrated strange talks which he was unable to understand. Mr. Lamb said that they were strange for some people. Now, dear student, here the question arises: what peculiar things does Derry notice about the old man Lamb? Now, answer to this question is, unlike the other people who were horrified on looking at Derry, Mr. Lamb did not show any dislike or horror at the way Derry looked. This surprised him. Derry also found it strange that even though the man himself was handicapped, he lived happily. He had a zest for life and encouraged him in ways no one had done earlier. He made him aware of his strengths and the importance of not pitying oneself. So these were the peculiar things talked by Mr. Lamb, which Derry was unable to understand. After a few minutes, Derry asked what he does all day. That means there was a question from Derry's side, how Mr. Lamb spends his days. Mr. Lamb replied that he sat in the sun reading books. He said that the house was full of books. Derry looked at the house and said that there weren't any curtains on the windows. Derry wants to know why there is no curtain on the windows. Mr. Lamb replied that he did not like curtains. Once again the question arises, why? Why there is no curtains on the windows? Mr. Lamb replied that he liked transparency. He liked light, darkness, and the wind too. Derry added that he also liked all of them, and he also liked the sound of the rain falling on the roof of his house when it is raining. Now Mr. Lamb observes that if he hears things, he is not lost. Derry says that people talk about him downstairs when he is not there. They seem to be worried about him and his future. Mr. Lamb gives him a very inspiring advice. he will get on the way he wants like all the rest, as he has all the God-given organs. He could even get on better than all the rest if he determined to do so. Mr. Lamb tells Derry that he had hundreds of friends. The gate is always open. People come in. Kids come for the apples, pears, and for toffee. He makes toffee with honey. Sometimes his friendship may be one side, even if Derry might never see him again. Mr. Lamb would be still his friends. Now, dear students, see the first line. Mr. Lamb observes that if we hear things, he is not lost. Now, Mr. Lamb commented that Derry, who loves to hear the sound of the rain falling on the roof, that means he too loves the things. He is not totally lost. That means he could hear and understand and he can feel. Now, Derry says that people talk about him downstairs when he is not there. Now, here, Derry listens about himself. Now, what he listens when he is not at home? Actually, Derry listens to what his parents talk about him downstairs when he is not there. They seem to be anxious about him and his future. What he will ever do and how will he ever get on in that world. What is going to happen to him with that burn mark on his face? They say what is going to happen to him when they have died. That means the parent of Derry were very much worried regarding the future of Derry. So Derry said that his family worried about him, that what would he do in the future with a burnt face. Now Mr. Lamb said that Derry had everything. Derry had everything. That means Mr. Lamb gives him a very inspiring advice here. Mr. Lamb says that Derry had everything: 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, 2 ears. He wanted to make Derry realize that he had so much which may other people were deprived of. He added that Derry could accomplish a lot if he determined to do so. Derry asked Mr. Lamb how was it possible, and Mr. Lamb replied that the same was as he did. Now here in this paragraph, Mr. Lamb inspired Derry to overcome his physical disability. Is it clear, students? Now see the second paragraph. Mr. Lamb tells Derry that he had hundreds of friends. The gate is always open. Now Derry asked if Mr. Lamb had any friends, and he replied that he had a few hundred of them. That means Mr. Lamb is having hundreds of friends. Derry further said that still he lived alone in such a big house in spite of having hundred of friends. Mr. Lamb said that everyone was his friend. Many people visited the garden. The gate remained open. They sat there. That means the people who come in, they sat there by the fire in winter season. Kids came to pick apples and pears and to take the honey toffees made by him. Derry said that he wasn't a friend of Mr. Lamb's. He said that Derry was a friend because he had not done any such thing that should cease their friendship. Derry said that they did not know each other well to become friends. Mr. Lamb did not consider that to be important to know each other to be a friend. He did not need Derry's particular before becoming friends with him. Now Mr. Lamb said that if he wished, he could tell him his name. Derry replied that his name was Derek. Now dear students, the real name, the actual name of Derry is Derek. But he disliked it and wanted to be called Derry instead. He added that he might not visit the place in future and then they would not remain friends anymore. Now Mr. Lamb asked the reason, and Derry replied that one crosses many people while walking down the street, might speak to a few of them, never see them again. This did not mean that they had become friends. Dear students, we often meet new people while walking on the street, traveling in the bus. Even we speak to the stranger also, but it doesn't mean that they are our friends. But for Mr. Lamb, his opinion is different from Derry. Mr. Lamb considers all the people as his friend. He tells Derry that hating others is bad. It harms more than any bottle of acid. Everything is the same, but everything is different. See the line, students. Everything is the same, but everything is different. Derry's attitude shows a gradual change. He wants to come there again. He thinks that the other friends of Mr. Lamb might go away if he came. Mr. Lamb assures him that people are not afraid of him because he is not afraid of them. Derry wants to stay there, but he had to inform his mother where he is. His house is 3 miles away. Mr. Lamb asked him to run there and inform his mother. Derry asked the old man about the persons who come there. He thinks that nobody never comes there. The old man is there by all himself and miserable. No one would come if he were alive or dead, and no one will care of him. See the first line, students. Now, during the conversation, Derry said that there were some people whom he hated. Mr. Lamb replied that hatred would harm him more than the acid that had only affected his face. But if he start hating the people, it will affect his whole body and soul. Derry commented that only his face. Mr. Lamb said that a bomb explosion blew up his leg, but there were worse things that could happen. One could burn himself up from inside by the negative feelings. That means if you are going to hate the people, it shows that you have the negative feelings towards the people. That is why you are hating others. Derry said that when he had burned himself up from the inside by the negative feelings, Derry said that when he had returned from the hospital, a person had said that it was better if he had remained there with people like him. He added that people think all disabled people should remain together at one place. Mr. Lamb added, this meant that people without legs should remain together and the world would become imbalanced that way. Mr. Lamb asked Derry that did he mean that he was like all other people with burnt faces just because they had similar appearance? He added that everything was different, although all things are same. Now Derry's attitude show a gradual change. Now slowly and slowly there is a change in the attitude of Derry. He wants to come there again. Now as slowly and slowly, or you can say gradually, there was a change in the attitude of Derry. Derry asked if he could visit the place again, and Mr. Lamb replied that he could and he would find company too. He added that Derry needn't mind other people. No one would stop him from entering the premises. Derry said that they probably would not like to enter the place upon seeing him. That means Derry says that if he come in, there is the possibility that the people who are already there in the garden would not like to enter the place upon seeing him. That means they will run away. They will get scared and run away from the garden. Now Derry wants to stay there, but he had to inform his mother. Now Mr. Lamb replied that they might or might not run away, and that he had to take a chance on that. Derry said that Mr. Lamb had to choose out of him and the other people as visitors, because no one liked to remain near him. Mr. Lamb would lose all his friends if he had Derry in his garden. Mr. Lamb said that he was there and did not run away on seeing Derry. They were not scared at him because he was not scared of them. Mr. Lamb assures him that people are not afraid of him because he is not afraid of them. Derry wants to stay there, but he had to inform his mother where he is. Now, after a few minutes, Derry said that his mother would be waiting for him. His home was 3 miles away, across the fields. He was 14 years of age, but still he was supposed to tell her where he was. That means, though Derry was 14 years old, then also he was supposed to tell his mother where he was. Now Mr. Lamb added that people had the habit of worrying. Obviously, she is mother. She is in the habit of worrying. Derry added that actually they were in the habit of fussing. Now, as Mr. Lamb says that yes, mother are in the habit of worrying about their children, Derry replied that actually it's not like that. They were in the habit of fussing. That means they talk in his absence about his future. Mr. Lamb asked Derry to go home and inform his mother of his whereabouts. His house was 3 miles away. Now Mr. Lamb asked him to run there and inform his mother. Derry asked the old man about the persons who come there. Inform his mother. Derry asked the old man about the person who come there. He thinks that nobody comes there. The old man is there by himself and miserable. Now Derry asked Mr. Lamb whether the person who come there talk to him and ask him things. Mr. Lamb says that some do, some don't. He asks them as he likes to learn. This makes Derry think that nobody ever comes there. He tells the old man that he is there all alone by himself and miserable. He says no one would know if he were alive or dead and nobody cares. Now in this slide, we come to the scene second. In the second scene, we see Derry and his mother. He informs his mother about the lame man. She tells him not to go there. Derry says that he wants to go there, sit and listen to things and look. Nobody else has ever said the things to the old man has said. When his mother says that he is best off there, Derry says he hates it there. He no longer cares about his face. It is not important. It's what he thinks, feels, sees, hears and finds out that is important. He is going there to help the old man with crab apples and to look at things and listen. If he doesn't go back there, he will never go anywhere in that world again. Now see the first line, students. This is the second scene. The second scene is at Derry's house as he returned back from the garden of Mr. Lamb to his house. And Derry is talking to his mother. His mother asked, what did Derry think of her? That means the mother is scolding Derry. She had already heard about Mr. Lamb. That means mother of Derry already knows. That means she has heard something bad about Mr. Lamb. Now here, students, the mother of Derry is opposing of his going back to the old man's garden. So she had already heard about Mr. Lamb. Derry told her not to believe what others said, but she warned him that she knew what was required to be known about any person and therefore asked him not to go back. Now, as just now I told you that here Derry's mother opposed his going back to the old man's garden. So the mother tells him not to go there. Derry says that he wants to go there, sit and listen to things and look. Now here, Derry gives the argument to convince the mother why he wants to go to Mr. Lamb's garden. He told her, that means Derry told his mother that Mr. Lamb was just an old man with a tin leg and had a big house without curtains and garden. He said that he wanted to go back and listen to things. Derry wants to be there and listen to things that matter, things nobody else has ever said, things he wants to think about. They are not about his face and how he looks. He said that he wanted to go back and listen to things. Now his mother was very much curious to know what was it that he wanted to listen. Derry replied that he wanted to hear bees singing and wanted to listen to what Mr. Lamb said. But she didn't find it suitable, and so she told him to stay at home and think about what he wanted to do. So mother tried hard to stop Derry at home. She says that he is best off there, staying in the home. Derry said that he hated to remain at home. His mother excused him for speaking wrong because he felt bad and so spoke that way. Derry said that it had nothing to do with its face. The important thing was how he thought and what he saw or heard. He announced that he would go back into the garden to help Mr. Lamb with crab apples. His mother tried to stop him, but he ran away, shutting the door behind. Now, dear students, this is the last scene, that means the third scene of the story. The third or last scene is again located in Mr. Lamb's garden. Derry reaches Mr. Lamb's garden panting. He finds Mr. Lamb lying on the grass with the ladder. Derry tells him that he has come back. Since Mr. Lamb fails to respond, Derry kneels by him and begins to weep, and the curtain falls. The play has a very pathetic end. Now see the difficult word here, pathetic, which means sad. Now see the first line. The third scene is in Mr. Lamb's garden. Derry reaches Mr. Lamb's garden panting, as the mother tried hard to stop, but he ran away, shutting the door behind him. So he reached to the garden of Mr. Lamb panting. He finds Mr. Lamb lying on the grass with the ladder. That means when he reached in the garden, he found Mr. Lamb on the grass with the ladder. Derry tells him that he has come back since Mr. Lamb fails to respond. Now, question arises, why Mr. Lamb fails to respond? Actually, student, when Derry left the garden and went back to his home, after a few minutes, Mr. Lamb was talking to himself while he was plucking the apples. Suddenly, a harsh sound of the cracking wood was heard, and the ladder fell on the ground. Mr. Lamb fell too. And that is why Mr. Lamb was unable to respond, because he died. Derry kneels by him and begins to walk. Derry opened the gate. He was still breathing rapidly and declared to Mr. Lamb that he had returned. He looked at him and found him lying on the ground. He went near him and tried to talk to him, but no one replied. Derry kept on calling him by his name and suddenly started crying. He did so because he realized that Mr. Lamb was dead. Now, dear student, the play has a very pathetic end. That means this play ends with a very sad note. The play has a very pathetic ending. Mr. Lamb, who works actively in spite of his physical disability, loses balance and falls down along with the ladder and died. It is a pathetic ending, no doubt, but it does not spread gloom. Rather, it acts like a beacon light. The old generation has handed over the charge to the younger one. Thus, though the old man expires physically, his ideas inspire Derry to pursue higher goals and achieve them. In this sense, the ending is pathetic but quite effective and meaningful. Now, dear students, I hope you all have understood the chapter explained by me, and here we come to the end of the story, the chapter. Now, the learning outcomes. The learner will be able to fight out their loneliness, depression, and disappointment after getting inspired by this story of Mr. Lamb and Derry. The student will accept the physically challenged pupil positively in their life and expand their interaction. That means, our students, it's my request to you that you should throw friendship with a physical challenged pupil also. You should not pity on them, but you should make friends. Throw the friendship with a physically challenged pupil and expand your interactions with them. Now, in this slide, I have given you a few question answers. That means, answer the following questions. Question number 1, what peculiar things does Derry notice about the old man? Question number 2, how should pupil be judged? Question number 3, in what ways does Mr. Lamb inspire Derry to overcome his physical disability? Question number 4, why does Derry's mother oppose his going back to the old man's garden? Question number 5, draw a character sketch of Mr. Lamb and Derry. Question number 6, what makes Derry resolve to go to the old man? So there are 6 questions. You have to answer the questions. You have to write the answer in the classwork copy and submit it when the school gets reopened. Thank you, students, for watching and listening.